We've got the four candidates for council on the stage right now. Please welcome candidates Donald Bristow, Joe Hornat, Mary Snider, and Lou Waters. A round of applause, please. Again, we're going to go alphabetically with their 90-second opening remarks, starting with Don Bristow.
Good evening. First of all, let me tell you what a councilman's priorities should be, at least in my mind. It's economic growth without losing a town's soul, financial responsibility, and sustainability with more diverse revenue sources, a balance between the needs of the residents and business, decisions based on facts and citizen input, public safety, quality of life, cultural, recreation, and learning opportunities for all ages, and environmental and historical preservation of what the town cherishes. As your voice in the council, I pledge to give you what you do not get now. I pledge to practice respect and civility, unite and not divide, participate on a team of 7 council members which seeks to unite the town of Oro Valley, seek and encourage citizen input, listen carefully, ask pertinent questions, carefully evaluate each proposal, and adhere to the Oro Valley General Plan and town codes when making decisions, and give the needs of the citizens a top priority. Thank you.
Mr. Hornat?
Rather than bore you with my previous life, which has no reference to doing anything in government other than maybe transfer some of the skills, let me tell you what I'm currently involved with at the town. I'm the council liaison to both the Water Utility Commission, one of our most important commissions here, especially with the history of water in Arizona. I'm the town liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which means I hear the citizens' stories before anything comes to council, and frankly, before it goes to planning and zoning as part of neighborhood meetings, something we instituted some time ago. I participate outside of council as the mayor's representative to the DMTVC, which is the Davis Mountain, Tucson Valley, whatever. But it's an authority that deals with continuing the purposes and the structure of Davis Mountain here, which is integral to not only Tucson, but frankly, Oro Valley. I also am a representative, as is Vice Mayor Waters, on the Tucson-Mexico Trade Coalition, trying to get everyone in Arizona to recognize the value of trade with Mexico. I'm a member of the American Legion here, as being a veteran, certainly to do that. I handle the boys' state stuff, and I'm on the honor guard, and I'll tell you the same sad joke I've told them before. My uniform now tapers the other direction. It's not the same taper that I had when I was in the Army. And we'll just see how the evening goes after that. Thank you.
Mary Snider?
I'm running for a seat on the Oro Valley Town Council because I live in a fantastic community just like you do. And giving back through civic service is something I truly enjoy. My family chose to live here for several reasons, many of the same that your family probably used to make that decision. We enjoy a high quality of life with the security of living in the 8th safest suburb in the United States. We have great schools, roads the rest of our region envies, a safe water supply, and we invest in parks and recreational facilities. These aspects are very important to Oro Valley residents, and I want to help manage the future growth of Oro Valley. I am the council liaison to the Park and Recreation Board. As a citizen board, I'm very proud to work with. They've come forth with great recommendations and were instrumental in helping us get Naranjo Park fields going. I also formed the first ever Youth Advisory Council so that our high school students have a voice in their local government. Youth is something that I am very passionate about, and that is something that I pride myself in having good relationships with the community. I wish to continue to bring Oro Valley into the next phase. Thank you.
And Mr. Waters.
Thank you to the Nazarene for having us. This is I haven't had an atmosphere like this in years, where I'm squinting at the audience. I was recently reminded that the only human being that likes change is an infant. And there's been a lot of transformative change going on in Oro Valley ever since I arrived back here. I was in Tucson in the 70s in news departments at KVOA and KOLD. And when I came back here from 22 years with CNN, I started getting involved in the town and noticed that the young folks from California who figured out that they could come here and buy a mansion compared to what they were living in out in California, that was the first transformative thing I saw happening here. The Oro Valley Marketplace, massive squabble over that, kerfuffles all over the place, members of that council protesting the building of that place. Transformative business for Oro Valley. And now we have, I was commenting the other day to the number of pregnant young women in Oro Valley. We've gone, it's a great retirement community, and I'll shed some more light on that in a while, but it's now a master plan community. We have families, we have needs for families. We need all of the things that the mayor mentioned earlier, the sports, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm done? I'm done? The end.
Thank you. We've got, with 4 folks up here on the stage, we've got a slightly different format. The length of time will be the same, of course. We're going to start questions at the far end, and then each person will get to be the first to respond to a question. I was asked if I was going to ask some of the same questions, and there is going to be some duplication, but I'm going to start with something different, if I may. Mr. Bristow, in the general plan process now beginning, 34% of Oro Valley respondents identified traffic congestion on Oracle Road as the community's biggest challenge in the next 10 years. What can the town of Oro Valley do to relieve congestion on Oracle Road?
Well, first thing they should have done is not rezoned for all those apartments that are being built. That would have helped. But actually, you're being limited in how many lanes you can add to Oracle Road. The expansion is going on now north of Tangerine Road, but a lot of the severe problems currently we see are within Oro Valley, which is south of Tangerine. So you're really going to have to find ways to divert the traffic or make the citizens aware that there's other ways to go. For instance, I prefer to take La Canada down now when I go south. There's no sense of getting on Oracle with all the lights that aren't in sync and all the traffic. So you're going to have to find ways to move the traffic on other avenues, and that's limited too. We got the mountains we face, which is going to always be a problem. We don't have an easy solution to other alternative routes. So, and the problem's just going to get worse before it gets better, and I don't think there's anybody that has the right answer right now.
Mr. Hornat, congestion on Oracle Road, what would you do?
Well, we could turn it into a toll road. That'd cut everybody down. There's no question about that. You're going to see, as time goes on, as Mr. Bristow even said here, La Cañada will start to carry more traffic. As Tangerine expands, as La Cholla expands, you'll see traffic that's now going north on Oracle shift to those streets. And certainly as Tangerine becomes 4 lanes all the way. So you'll see some of that. It's really a state problem. We're a very lucky group. We are in a place where people want to live, and within certain limits, that's about all we can do. I really don't see a solution. It's a state problem. We've tried to restrict some of the egress to the different areas. You'll notice that you can only do it at lights. There's certain turnarounds, there's safety issues, et cetera, but it's not something we can control. Thank you.
Mrs. Snider?
Thank you. As Councilmember Hornat indicated, it is an ADOT or Arizona Department of Transportation controlled issue. However, with the strong plan that RTA has, the Regional Transportation Authority, they are addressing the regional transit of vehicles. And again, echoing La Cañada, La Cholla will begin to handle a lot of those. I won't have the answer, but we have somebody on our town staff that likely will have a good answer, and that's our Chief of Police, Danny Sharp, who heads a national traffic management group, and he's an expert recognized nationally for managing these things. Trying to coordinate the town's needs with the state's requirements are a problem. Just getting the signals to sync properly is a problem. As you know, Oracle Road is being widened north of Tangerine, And ADOT has assured us that as soon as that project is done, then they will work on a permanent syncing of the lights so that traffic will flow in a better manner. Until that's done, we're going to be a little bit inconvenienced with that.
Mr. Waters, Oracle Road, what would you do?
All of that, I guess. And I get it. I was on my way to an appointment down in Tucson the other morning, and I hit every red light on Oracle there is to get caught up by. And I know I've heard others say the same thing. Why can't ADOT do something about it to regulate at different times of day, different things? Oracle's being widened. That'll help. Lambert Lane has been widened, but it still leaks out onto Oracle, and it is a state problem. And we've worked with our transit people, maybe some more education about, I don't know the number of times I've driven by empty Sun Shuttle services, except for the smaller ADA transported groups and seniors. But maybe we can educate people to fill up some of those buses on their way to work rather than drive. When you see, well, I came from Atlanta where the traffic was just amazingly horrid. So when I came here and there were 2 cars in front of me and they called this a traffic jam, I was relieved. But I know more people, more cars, more traffic. We're working on it.
Let me follow up with something. Mr. Bristow, you made reference to the apartment projects being built on Oracle Road. We've got 3 big projects coming online right now, more than 760 apartment units, I believe they are. Would you support those apartment projects if you'd been a voting member of the council?
That's a good question. I would have not, if I had known they were all coming and I knew they were, and we did know they were coming, I would not have allowed the rezoning on all of them. Particularly the one up at Steam Pump Ranch where we were promised a big open area between them and attractive, and we don't have that. They're in there like with barracks, and our town staff should have known that when they looked at the plans that it wasn't going to meet what we were told it would be. We gave up on a town center at first in Oracle. We could have easily held back on that and tried to get and not rezoned it, so we could have had the town center we were all hoping to have someday as a gathering point for the community and a focal point. So, no, I wouldn't have been in such a hurry to approve them all.
Mr. Hornat.
Well, I visited the open house for those apartments, and contrary to what other people may see from the road, they're very well done. There's plenty of space internal to there. They've hidden the parking fairly well. You're always going to see some of it. Just to go back to the traffic on Oracle Road for a minute here, we have done some things. We brought some buses from Raytheon so that people go directly to Raytheon for work. We're obviously one of the answers to less traffic on Oracle is to have more jobs in Oro Valley so you don't have to travel. There are people from Sanofi, Ventana, Secure Plane who live here in Oro Valley. Well, if we had more of that, there would be a little less traffic.
Would you like to clearly restate the question?
There wasn't really a clear question there, actually. Mr. Bristow made reference to the apartments projects on Oracle Road as contributing to congestion there. You were on the council when those projects came forward. Are they a good thing? Is it in our best interest to allow those projects to be approved by council?
I voted for them. They met the zoning. There was private property rights involved. If someone owns a piece of property and it's zoned for that project and they can get financing, they can build it. Did they need to build them all at once? That's not for me or anyone on the council to say. However, apartments, I will just tell you, are part of the general plan that was voter approved in 2003. So this is not something new. Diversity of housing is something that was important to the residents, and it specifically states apartments. Young people today are changing the way they are living their lives. And as the mayor mentioned, with Sanofi and Roche Ventana, some of those employees are looking for short-term living conditions. I recently had some information. U of A did a study that says that they following University of Arizona freshman from 2007, and what they've learned is, quote, buying a home, getting married, having kids, those were markers of adulthood in my day. You went to college, you went out and got a job, you married, had kids, bought a home, that was the thing, but not today. 28% of the A-plus study participants, now between the ages of 23 and 26, say that marriage is not an important life goal. 27% say children is not important, and 19% of them say homeownership is not important. Things are changing for the next generation coming up.
Mr. Waters, the evolving question here, or the apartment projects on Oracle Road, your thoughts?
Well, Mary alluded to the fact that the council, it manages, it sets policy, but it doesn't tell landowners how to use their rights. There are landowner rights, and if things are zoned in a certain way, if it meets the code and meets the design standards of Oro Valley, then they can go ahead with their projects. It's really not up to us to say you can or cannot build what you want to build. It's their responsibility to build it according to the code, according to the design standards, and if they fail, they fail. But these projects are so well put together. We're down at the HSL celebration for their opening. They're already ahead of projections for people moving into those apartments. And as one older fellow said to me up in Sun City today, I understand that. Young people are not looking for the American dream of home ownership. They're looking for apartments because they can't get the money they need from the banks. Plus, they move on. These high-end jobs that we're going after for Innovation Park, which is our target, the economic heart of Oro Valley, is going to require these workers living in these apartments with amenities for their families. And that's the plan, and I'll stick with that.
Recruiting businesses to Oro Valley can sometimes be difficult because of regional circumstances. As a council, what strategies can you guys take to overcome some of the negative images that Tucson and Pima County have to recruit businesses to this area?
I think, Mr. Hornat, you get first crack there.
Yes. I'm sorry that Tucson has negative images. I really am, because they're important to us. They're a partner in the region, and believe me, we do everything we can to assist them in their image area. One of the things here that makes Oro Valley strong is certainly our educational system, both from AMPHI, the private schools we have, as well as BASIS. That's an attractive thing to businesses. It's an old joke that I've told before, but the site selectors come to Oro Valley, and the trio folks say, what should I tell them about Oro Valley? And I say, take them to the McDonald's, feed them off the dollar menu, show them the mountains, and if they don't get it, you didn't waste a lot of money. And that's true. We have something here that is unique to Oro Valley, and people want to live here, and when people want to live someplace, the businesses will follow. We'll see some things along Innovation Park in the next couple of years that we've been not working on every day, but working on, and you'll see some incubator businesses start there, and those are the kind of things that are going to bring more jobs to this region. We just need to emphasize the strengths that we have and not worry about the inadequacies of other communities. Thank you.
I see the recruitment of jobs coming into our community as a regional and statewide responsibility, not just Oro Valley. We need to partner with the Arizona Corporation Commission and others that are able to put up dollars to attract companies to come into our state, let alone our community. Why do businesses want to come to Oro Valley? Why do we want them there? They want to be there. We have great schools. We have every educational opportunity for their children, from BASIS, public school, private schools, excellent education. We're the 8th safest community suburb in the United States. Safety is important to businesses. We have great places for their employees to live. We have a quality of life that is enviable. But most of all, businesses look at the strong fiscal health of a community. They want to know that the town they're going to be locating their business in is well managed, and Oro Valley is definitely that.
We're on businesses, and we have plucked a good egg to come to Oro Valley. Panera Bread is coming in. Retail business is difficult for Oro Valley in one respect, and that is there are not enough people to support the marketing by a number of companies. We've tried to get a pancake house. I think I mentioned to someone earlier out in the lobby. It needed over 100,000 residents in order to meet its needs marketing-wise to come here. So we run into that. That's why we've been concentrating on Innovation Park so thoroughly. We lost the opportunity to have Accelerate, it's called, come into Oro Valley because, as the mayor mentioned earlier, there wasn't the space for it. We passed the Economic Expansion Zone, the EEZ. If you meet all the codes and you've got a business and you're in. But if we don't have a space for you, then we're out of luck. Now we understand that Accelerate wants to come back into Oro Valley. We've gotten support from the governor. We've gotten support from Michael Crow at ASU. And we're concentrating heavily as that being the principal business of Oro Valley. And we need those people who are going to come and work in innovation to get us more of the retail business that we need because we have the citizens to make it work.
Mr. Bristow.
Hello. Thank you. One thing as a region we need to be careful of, and it happened at the last forum, was a lot of bad mouthing of Tucson and how dangerous it was when it really isn't. And this kind of thing spreads and it hurts Oro Valley also. So we need to be careful of that. Oro Valley attracts a lot of people because of exactly the people out in this audience. When we were looking, it was the people who lived here who talked so greatly about the town and encouraged you to come and look at Oro Valley rather than other places in the region. And we need to continue that. We hope our citizens will keep that spirit about them because that's important to attracting people and businesses. As has been pointed out, we do have difficulty with retail because our geographic area is limited because of the mountains. We really don't have that draw we'd like to have. But the people do come, the businesses do come here not because of any A-frames policies or anything else, because of the population here and their spending power. So, and I know the town has downgraded their efforts in retail and has upgraded their efforts in employment. And that is an important factor if we expect to then turn around and upgrade our retail at a future point.
As a follow-up to that question, the council has invested money in organizations such as TRIO and Visit Tucson. Would you say that's an effective use of funding, or should the money be kept in-house and Oro Valley take steps on their own? It's Mary Snider first.
Actually, the town stopped funding TRIO back in 2013. TRIO decided to take a different approach. Rather than have municipalities fund their efforts, they went to private business, and that works out, I think, very well. However, we still work with TRIO closely in them helping them help us get the biotech, bioscience companies interested in coming here. TRIO takes a look at the region. We are in touch with all our regional partners, Marana, Tucson, Sahuarita. We're not competing for the same business opportunities. The mayors of those communities get together and have breakfast once a month with no agenda. They've got a great relationship, and we all know what our strengths are. We're not going to be going after aviation industries. That would not be a good fit for Oro Valley, but it's a great fit for Tucson or Sahuarita. Or Marana may have another industry that isn't fitting for Oro Valley. Bioscience is what we're going to be known for. They're not going to be competing that much against us. Visit Tucson, tourism, that's our brand. And the return on the investment that we get from funding Visit Tucson is tenfold. And as far as the chamber funding, that's a good partnership because we rely on sales tax revenue, and Dave Perry and the chamber do a great job of working with our businesses to make sure that they're healthy and that they understand all the codes and things in town, which sometimes can be troublesome. So it's a good investment.
I'm on the board of Visit Tucson. There was a lot of angst over funding Visit Tucson, which then was called MTCVB, Metropolitan Tucson Convention and Visitors Bureau. Brent Durad came down from Scottsdale, took it over. Brilliant man, excellent plans, and the sports tourism that the mayor mentioned earlier, which we are actively pursuing now, where people come into our town, drop their money off here and go home, is an excellent plan for revenue. And with the Aquatic Center and the support from Visit Tucson and its worldwide reach now, their marketing plan is astonishing, and Oro Valley is an established link on their website, and now with the addition of Tohono Shul, a world-renowned organization that we're concentrating on in the Arts and Culture Department. I hope you asked about that a little bit later. But this kind of approach is worth every penny because, as Mary said, the return is astonishing. People stay in our hotels, they eat in our restaurants, and they leave their money behind. Good plan.
As was mentioned, we stopped funding TRIO a couple of years ago, so that's really out of the question. But yes, we should support these organizations. We do have the thrust on tourism, and it's paying dividends. It brings in bed tax dollars as well as sales tax dollars, which are both important to our government functioning. But in the case of the chamber, they're actively trying to help promote the town also and bring in new businesses when they're contacted. So we need to continue supporting both of them. However, like in any business decision, we need to have some measurements of their performance and make sure the town is getting a return for their dollar. And I wouldn't think anyone would object to that who's working with us.
TRIO is important to Oro Valley, whether we fund them or not. They are funded by the county. I think Tucson kicks in pretty good. So technically, with your county property taxes, you're funding TRIO, but not directly from the town. They are a group of professionals who have a network, an international network of businesses. They watch the market. They watch what is going on within companies. They are looking forward to bringing people to our area so that they can show them what we have. But by the same token, they're not going to bring the wrong people here. They're not going to spend their time with people who have absolutely no interest. You can go to San Diego and talk to the biotech folks there and say, would you like to come to Oro Valley? The answer is no. We don't have a big enough biotech industry to support the kind of synergy they have. We've been to San Diego, we've been told that. It wouldn't matter if you gave the land away, they wouldn't come here. The people who work there won't come here. They want to be able to go from one to the other. As far as Visit Tucson, again, a group of highly skilled professionals with tremendous reach. The foreign reach of them plus their reach within the United States. I know they do a big market in Chicago. They do analysis on that. You ride the buses or the L. I don't know if anybody knows what the L is, but it's the trains, public transportation in Chicago. You're going to see Visit Tucson ads with Oro Valley mentioned as well as Tucson. They have tremendous reach, and as everyone has already said, they're well worth whatever we spend on them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn attention to taxes here, and Mr. Waters, you get to field this one first. More than 3 years ago now, you voted for an increase in the town's utilities tax. Did you see that as a temporary tax at that time? Would you cast the same vote again?
Did not see it as temporary at the time. When we came into office, we not only were faced with having to replace town management, but we were handed by the old town manager a proposed budget with 5 different tax proposals on it. We were $3 million in deficit. The staff was in turmoil, And we had a great recession you may have heard about. We voted on the utility tax. Oro Valley depends upon sales taxes, utility taxes, and state shared revenues. It's the only money that is provided by the citizens. We needed that money to balance the budget. We did, and now we have almost a $2 million surplus, which has allowed us to not only proceed with footsteps into Naranja Town Site and other projects, but it also allowed us, as the community demanded, to bury $2.1 million worth of power lines underground along Oracle Road, which is a declared scenic corridor for Oro Valley. So the utility tax helped us bury our utilities.
Thank you. Mr. Bristow, had you been on the council, would you have voted for the utilities tax increase? And did you see it as a temporary increase?
Not having the knowledge of what our conditions really were at that time, I can't say honestly. I guess I would support it if we absolutely needed it. If there was any reason to think we could do away with it in a year or two later, then I would have also requested it be terminated within a certain length of time. But as I said, I don't have the knowledge of what our conditions were at that time. I do know that a lot of the things we did were pretty basic to bring our budget back in line to things everybody does. You freeze employment. You hold off on capital projects. You hold wages down. So that was a big part of an effort that was done and should have been done to help bring down the deficit.
Mr. Hornat, let's talk about the utilities tax. Temporary? Would you do it again?
I didn't see it as a temporary tax. I saw it as a solid move towards a structural, financial, fiscally responsive thing to do. And as Mr. Bristow pointed out here, we did all those things. We cut back here, we cut back on personnel, we cut back on some programs to survive. Those are the things you do. They're sound basic, but they take courage to do it because you're gonna affect people's lives. If we had the vote again tomorrow, given the situation that we had, a deficit like that, to cut $1.5 million in tax, I think $1.4 million, if I think that's the right number, at $7 per household in a month per household in Oro Valley, a tax that we pay also. It isn't a tax that someone else is paying and we're not. The businesses here were affected. We never heard a peep from them. Never a peep, and believe me, they were affected dramatically. So yeah, I'd do it again if I had to.
Thank you. Mrs. Snider?
I too did not necessarily see it as a temporary, although I would be open to certainly any discussion about that when the time is correct. Right after we got elected, we held 2 economic summits. We called in the business owners, the business professionals, large and small, the nonprofits, the education partners we have, the faith partners we had, and we opened the doors to the new mayor and council, and we listened while they talked. We asked them, what can we do to help you get through this economic crisis? This was 2010. It was tough. One of the things we heard loud and clear from across those segments is you're too dependent as a town on just sales tax revenue. You've got to diversify your revenue base somewhat. Okay, we filed that away. How are we going to do that? So when we saw the numbers, we knew what we had to do. We took a position of doing half the recovery of that $3 million through cutting expenses, delaying capital equipment, and then the other half was implementing a 2% increase in utility tax, frankly, to match Marana, who had been collecting 4% utility tax for years, and they have a lot more sales tax revenue than Oro Valley does. They've got that nice little corridor through I-10 for retail. Sunsetting it would mean we'd have to have another plan. This seems to work well. We've received very few complaints. It is the least onerous and most widespread of helping the town out. Thank you.
Well, let me follow up. Mr. Bristow, do you see tax increases in Oro Valley's future the next 4 years? Should the community examine a property tax option?
Well, looking at the forecast that the town has put out for the next 4 years, they're showing steady revenues and with steady expenses. Nothing dramatic, no dramatic changes in either one of them. And the reserve, the general fund reserve staying about the same. So if that scenario plays out, there probably is no pending need short term for any increases. Property tax, that's up to the citizens. Obviously, if you say, well, we got to look at alternate revenue sources, nothing should be off the table. Even though you may list it, you can also say, well, we're not going to pursue that one. But no taxes like that are going to occur unless there's really a reason for it, because the history of the town is we don't want a property tax. And you're going to have to listen to the people you represent and abide by their desires, and they'll have to make that decision if they want to change their minds.
Mr. Hornat.
I'm a fiscal conservative. I ran on that the first time, and I still feel that. I hate taxes. I could not support the property tax under any of the conditions I envision in the future. I'm one of those people who does not want to give government a blank check. And I think when you institute a property tax, you just give them more money. And if you're not happy with the way they're spending it today, why would you want to give them any more? So no, I don't see. I've seen the financial forecasts. For me, they're a visual thing, and you've probably all seen the charts with the little wavies. The chart that we inherited when we got here and the chart that we've come forward with, which does show revenues and expenses running pretty close to each other, and thank God revenue's above it. So I think we've got a pretty good plan. I think we've got a pretty good structure, so I don't see taxes in Oro Valley's future.
Mrs. Snider.
No, I do not see the need for a property tax. We have a very strong and steady revenue projection for the next 5 years. We also know exactly what our expenditures are going to be. We've plotted those out. We have an excellent town manager and executive staff that is looking ahead. They plan ahead. Now, there's always the opportunity for something unforeseen to come up. If that happens, the way we've structured the budget is we use one-time revenues for one-time expenses. We use ongoing revenues for ongoing expenses. So if the budget gets into trouble, and remember, the budget is just a forecasting document. It's not cast in stone. But should we have needs to use monies in a different way, we simply put the brakes on the capital expenditures. We continue delivering the services. We have the contingency plans to deal with something like that. I can't ask an Oro Valley resident to give the town more money when we are in a solid fiscal position and don't need additional revenues for the next 5 years.
Mr. Waters.
The town is in great shape. In addition to the other things I mentioned when we came into office, revenues were declining, expenses were increasing, and the general fund was declining slowly in the out years. The town has produced a graph now. There's a copy of it out on the table in front, where now expenses and revenues are dead even, and the general fund is leveled out into the out years through 19. So no, read my lips, no new taxes.
Starting with you, Councilman Hornat, what size population do you believe the Oro Valley Plan can support with regard to resources, taxes, and the environment?
What size do we think we can support based on where we are today? Well, we've got a good forecast. I mean, if you look at the general plan and some of the strategic plan, you'll see what our forecast is. It's one of the things we based our impact fees on is what you're going to have down the line. And I think, boy, I really hate to guess like this, but I think we're talking in the next 10 years of a population increase of about 11,000 people. We're aiming the infrastructure to do that, and one in particular being water, which I'm very, very familiar with, and the way we bring water in here, the Central Arizona Project water. I think based on even some of our annexation, we're looking at a population increase of about 11,000 people. I'm not too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the business opportunities. Those people will bring more retail, but I really, really think we need to, and we will continue to concentrate on the Innovation Park and attracting people here. Thank you.
Velma, I didn't quite hear your question. Would you please restate it?
What size population do you believe the Oro Valley Plan can support with regard to resources, taxes, and the environment now and in the future?
Now and in the future. Okay. I would say that right now we're doing extremely well. We're working with a very lean town staff. They're job sharing a lot. When the recession came along, people are sharing jobs, doing more with less. I commend every one of them. So I think we're staffed as lean right now as we can. In fact, in this budget, we added 1.5 positions is all, for our current population of about 42,000. As that moves up, we'll listen to the experts who need to tell us what we need staffing-wise. As more residents move in, more retail will come, more sales tax revenue will happen. I can tell you that in my opinion, based on what I've heard from staffing about the police department, we're as tight as we can be right now. We're actually down about 8 officers. We have some people deployed overseas. We have some people out on disability. Our police staff is maxed at the moment. So with annexations come opportunities for economic expansion. There are formulas for that, and we will handle those as they come along.
Councilman Waters?
It's a very complex equation that you're asking us to come up with an answer for tonight, but I would agree that probably, well, you know, in the wintertime, our population increases, what, maybe 5,000-6,000 people? And you'll see the increase in traffic there. It gives you some idea of the engineering studies that will have to be done in association with the question you ask. Our strategic plan takes us down to Orange Grove. It took us 3 years to get to Ina with our annexation plan. So this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Right now, the land people, land management people are not too fond of our environmentally sensitive land ordinances because they can't get the maximum amount of money for their land, which is their job. I don't know. I think about 10,000 maybe. You know, I came from Atlanta where in 20 years we went from 1.3 million to incredible millions of people with no planning. So if we plan properly, and like right now, we have homes going in north on La Cholla and no plans by the county to widen La Cholla to accommodate the traffic going down there until 2026. So small problems like that have to be worked out. We have to manage this growth closely, even anticipated growth.
Mr. Bristow?
My concern would be with where we're headed is we've spent down our general fund reserve to lower than it was 4 years ago, and all indications of the forecasts are we're going to stay there. If we're going to continue to pursue things like the Hornat Park and improve the steam pump ranch, that's going to take revenue. And we don't have it to do those expansions. And if we do them, there's a big legacy cost that comes with all that investment. And the forecast for our expenses and revenue don't show where that's going to come from. And you're not going to be able to make all these things big revenue generators that are going to cover all this, even though that's the ideal situation. And the Hornat Park should be a community park, not a revenue generator where the families can't go and have picnics in the shade and so on.
Thank you. Mr. Bristow, you know I got to ask about signs. You know, you've been a critic of temporary relief from rules regarding business use of A-frame signs and the outdoor display of merchandise. You've filed a number of complaints with the town regarding perceived violations of that permission. The business community interprets those actions as being anti-business, and I wondered, how do you respond to that?
They're not anti-business. They're anti-town and anti-chamber, because the town and the chamber has refused to work with their members and the businesses to abide by the rules and regulations of the town, just like we as citizens are expected to abide by them. The town, in fact, it seldom wants to even enforce the codes. They do things like go out and the real estate people have an open house sign setting on the side of the road in violation of its location. The inspectors have written notes where they go and tell the real estate agent to correct their problem rather than picking it up and charging them the $25 fine. Well, right across the street is a citizen's garage sale sign. They pick that up, throw it in their truck, and it's never seen again. There's a lot of inequities that need to be straightened out, and it's not an anti-business proposition. I'm for the business people, but the business people have responsibilities too. And it's only a handful of, maybe I shouldn't say a handful, maybe there's 20, I don't know what the percent is, of businesses that are even the problem. So it's not a major problem, but it's one that no one seems to want to address who has the ability to address it.
Thank you. Councilman Hornat, A-frames, outdoor display of merchandise. What's your thoughts?
Well, we have been actively enforcing this. And what is enforcement? It's reminding some of these people that they do have a responsibility to the community and to the codes, and that is to bring their stuff into the safety codes with the 4 feet, to put their A-frames where they're allowed. And we do have some consistent violators, and we do pick up their signs, and we do charge them $25. Is it a big deal? I don't think it's a big deal. I just think it's one of those things that you have to pay a little bit of attention to. You have to remind them. The Chamber's done a great job of that, as a matter of fact, by counseling businesses on what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing. So the temporary relief that we've done, we're doing it on Oracle Road as they expand that road. We want those businesses to survive. All the businesses in Oro Valley are not owned by outside people. A lot of those people live in Oro Valley. It's important to them. It's important to us. We have a responsibility to them. That's part of what a town does. Signs on after closing, we remind them. I mean, people have problems with their timers. I admit that, but it gives people kind of a bad sense of who we are. I don't like that. They don't like it, but we do enforce it. It's not the most critical thing in Oro Valley, believe me. Thank you.
Mrs. Snider?
We're a community both of private individuals and businesses, and we need to respect each other and treat each other with respect. The town does have a sign policy. The town has an employee full-time that goes out and checks on those signs. Some businesses have new employees or are new into town. They may not understand what the regulatory issues are about signs, and that's where the Chamber comes in and is very helpful about that. I don't see sign patrol as something that should be punitive. I think it should be educating people. We rely on sales tax revenue in the town, and if we don't have healthy businesses in town and ones that we have good relationships with who will remain in the town, then we will end up with a property tax. So I think we need to leave the policing of this to town employees. And as far as the real estate signs go, having been a former realtor years ago, I can tell you that many realtors come in to show a home or conduct business in Oro Valley that don't live here. They don't know what the sign requirements are. Their offices down in Midtown don't necessarily tell them. So I don't think that we want to be punitive with them. Again, we want to be instructive with them. So that's my vision of that.
I hesitate, but Mr. Bristow at the last forum talked about, and I empathize that he came before the council on many occasions, anti-signs. And we came into office by being business friendly. We had to. Remember how scary it was then? It was a Great Recession. But not only that, Osama bin Laden was hunted and killed. We had a war. The talk among economists and politicians is that we're going to crash and burn. It was a very scary time. Drive down Oracle Road, see that sign that stocks are dropping. Many of us live by the stocks that were dropping. It was a scary time and very scary for businesses. And when you go down to Fry's store with a tape measure and find that the patio chair was not within the 4-inch. The Fry's manager came to me and complained. I've gotten 2 complaints this week. That's not business friendly. That's anti-business.
With the current town budget, are there any areas that you as council members would like to see the city increase, decrease, or eliminate altogether? Mr. Hornat, you're first.
Well, we're learning to live. We're learning just like everybody else has to learn. We're living within our means. I think it's not what would I would increase or not increase. It's what would I do with the money that we do have. And I think what we've been doing is something I call chunking. And that is when we get a couple extra bucks, we dump it back into the infrastructure. One of those infrastructures is obviously Nazarene Park, and we're seeing some results there. The other infrastructure, of course, was the Aquatic Center, which we took money out of contingency for a couple mil, but we also passed I don't know if it's a code or an ordinance, we're paying ourselves back as part of every year's budget. You look at Steam Pump Ranch, I'd like to see more money spent in Steam Pump Ranch, but we've got a plan for that. We're spending the kind of money, the one-time things for one-time items that come to us. So it's not, in a perfect world, I could give you a list of things that I could spend more money on. Who couldn't? But we're learning to live within our means. I think we're doing a good job of it. And once again, chunking. When you got a couple bucks, it's just like your house. You put them in there. We've got a plan. If things go south a little bit, we would cut back on some of those things. Nobody would want to do that. Some of the infrastructure, some of the planned things, even down to replacing police cars. We did it before. We'd do it again if we had to. But I think it's more important we learn to live within our budget, and I think we have. And if we had more money, we'd put it in all those same places. Thank you.
Following what we've learned from Your Voice, Our Future and the community survey, that's going to be guiding a lot of our decisions. And that's because we're listening to our residents and we're valuing what they want for their quality of life. I don't know that I would change much in the budget right now because the budget next year might be slightly different, and that's based on the changing needs in the community. Life isn't the same year after year. You have new challenges that come up that you must address, and you need to have a plan for those, and we do. We have a great deal of flexibility. We're nimble within the budget, and we can meet those. As far as spending down our reserves, I have to make a statement about that. At one point, we had a higher reserve account than we did. But we're mandated by our own council policy to have a 25% reserve account over our general fund. We're currently sitting at probably 33%. We've been as high as 43%. I don't believe in being the Bank of Oro Valley. Public money should be used for the public good. We can withstand any emergency that's going to come up with a 25% reserve fund, but we're not going to take it down to 25%. Because our finance director won't let us, for one thing. But a change I would like to see, I would like to see more immediate investment in finishing out the fields at Nazarene. We're starting with 2. I'd like 4, because if we had 4, we could bring a Major League Soccer team into train. We look at these opportunities that will bring economic development dollars into the town. That's what I would be looking for.
I'm sorry, Thelma, I didn't hear your question.
My question was, let me find it.
Past your bedtime too?
Given the current budget, which areas would you increase, decrease, or eliminate?
Oh, I see. The town's in great shape. The amount of the budget is a cap. We can change things within it at any time. And we also know that inside every solution are needs for new problems. I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about arts and culture because that's what I'm involved in. And in my view, it's the glue that holds the community together. We've talked a lot about money tonight. We know what we have. We have a wonderful community that I think there's no one here, no one in the room that says, boy, I hate it here. I've been going door to door with council members Hornat and Snider, and they grumble about this and that, the folks that we're talking with. But in the end, I ask, are you happy with Oro Valley? Oh, yeah, I'm very happy with Oro Valley. Even a fellow up in Sun City I talked to today, his name is Michael. He's retired, he's 85. He came up to Oro Valley because it was quiet. And his wife died, now he lives alone, and it's still quiet. He loves that. He talked about the apartments, and he said, I know young people, they can't get the money they need to follow the American dream. And he said, the business is coming in, that's great, but where I am, it's still quiet. So the retirement community is still a retirement community. It's lovely and beautiful, and people love it. We're in great shape in Oro Valley. The budget is working, and everybody I've talked to, with rare exception, is very happy with where the town is right now.
The budget is balanced, which it has to be by law. You can move within it during the year, but you can't exceed the total that's been approved. And the current budget, unfortunately, it's good and bad. It has a lot of money set aside for employees, for pay raises, for new software, new computers. A big hunk of the money is internal, which unfortunately doesn't leave enough money for some of the projects that external, which I'd like to see happening, like something happening with Steam Pump Ranch. There is a plan. There's been a plan for a long time. It just hasn't been implemented. I'd like to see a plan which doesn't exist for Nirvana Park. Money's being spent with no plan. It's now under evaluation. It hasn't been even issued or studied yet. It would be nice to see more there. But where are we going to get it from with a very tight budget this year? Hopefully in the future years, we'll be able to divert some of the money to some of these projects for the community as a whole. And I'm not downplaying the employees, by the way, which will be the next thing they'll say.
Thank you. Thelma and I have about 80 more questions to ask, but we can't ask them. And let's go to closing remarks now. We agree that we're going to go in reverse alphabetical order with the council candidates. Each one has 90 seconds, and then we'll bring our two mayoral candidates back up. And we start with Lou Waters.
Thank you, David. Could we have the next forum like at 5:30 in the morning? I could dazzle you with footwork then. The mayor has a sign in his office that has defined leadership as nothing more than making logical decisions which may be unpopular and being able to withstand criticism until such time success is achieved. We've gone through that in a couple of cases here in the last 4 years. The library, for one, there was an intense struggle to keep the library as it was, even though we were paying double the money that we needed to be spending on it. We even got some arguments that folks in Pima County don't read the same books the people in Oro Valley read, which we all know is not true. But we went through and we vertically adjusted that by forming a partnership with Pima County to get us new books, new computers. The library open 7 days a week, and more library services, and everybody is just tickled pink about it. That's one example of the leadership I just talked about. There was the Coyote Run business, which was intensely opposed also. It's now called Shuttle Dial-A-Ride and has 4 times the ridership that it had before. And the Regional Transportation Authority is paying us to use our buses. I'm proud of the leadership that this council has provided, and flummoxed at time about all the criticism, but that was a part of growing into this job. But even Margaret Thatcher observed, if my critics saw me walking over the Thames River, they would say it was because I couldn't swim. We ask for your vote, and we ask for your support for a stronger Oro Valley. Thank you.
I'm going to ask for your vote to return for another 4 years to serve the community I care deeply about. I have a record of successful community engagement in Oro Valley that spans over a decade. I'm proud of the work that we've done on the council. My approach to public service focuses on relationships. Over the years, I've developed strong relationships with our families, our seniors, our youth, and our businesses. Establishing trusting relationships fosters honest and clear communication and keeps me routinely in touch with what's important to Oro Valley residents and businesses. I'm proud to be part of a council majority that reversed over $3 million deficit to a $1.7 million surplus in 3 years, using strong policy and fiscal management and without a property tax. Oro Valley has strong reserves, and we're uniquely positioned coming through the worst recession in Oro Valley history to move forward. I'm asking for the honor of your vote to permit me to continue serving the residents of Oro Valley. My family and I, like I said before, live here for likely the same reasons you do. Safety, the beauty of our vistas, the excellent educational opportunities for our children, and recreational amenities, to name a few. I want to remind you to vote in the August 26th primary. Early mail ballots will drop tomorrow, so those of you who vote by mail will receive your ballots likely in the next few days. And our local leadership is at stake, and I ask for your vote not only for me, but for Mayor Hiremath, Vice Mayor Waters, and Councilmember Hornat. Thank you.
One of the advantages and disadvantages of going third is everybody said everything already. I echo everything that my fellow council members have said. I have something on my website called accomplishments, and it's a lengthy list. And I think the most important thing on there is that no one person on council does these things alone. But it is important to note the significant progress Oro Valley has made on this watch, and I hang my hat on that. One of the questions that Vice Mayor Waters asks as he knocks on the door is, are you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. I see people that are happy. I ask myself, who's responsible for that over the last 4 years? It doesn't take a genius to see that we've done some good things here. Have we done everything that everybody expects we would do in the order that they would expect it to be done? Absolutely not. That's just not possible. But on whole, if you look at these 4 people and the things they've done, the progress they've made, the direction they've taken, the fiscal responsibility they've shown, the integrity they have, the protective nature that they have towards Oro Valley, their interactions with other regions and other communities, these are the 4 people you need to return to council in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Perhaps the ultimate challenge to the future of Oro Valley is re-electing these incumbents. They have divided our council and divided our town. They have convinced you that if they have convinced you that at discord or lack of civility doesn't exist on the council, just go online and watch some of the past council meetings. The disrespect and dissension will become obvious. The election is upon us, and what have the incumbents done for you recently? They have drawn down the general fund reserve to the lowest dollar level since they took office, perhaps the lowest percentage level in years. Why, you ask? They spent $2.3 million on infrastructure, a couple of multi-use fields, and a dog park at Narana Park. They spent money for an outside consultant plan for the park. This plan and the Citizens Narana Park survey are not completed and ready to be presented. These may have led to a rational development plan and a budget for the park. Improvements in the park are good things. It's a question of their timing. It is responsible to spend the town's reserves when the incumbents state the economy will not be out of recession until 2015. These are facilities that most of us will not use and could have been delayed. At the Hilton last night, the town held a public relations event. They announced the annex of the Tucson Children's Museum will be located in Oro Valley next year. This hasn't been on the council agenda for approval. A site has not been identified, and additional funding must be raised. Talk about political timing. My opponents are not spending your money wisely or in a timely manner. Are they trying to win your votes? Yes, they are. Don't be fooled. The residents of Oro Valley deserve to be represented by people who want to serve them. My priority is you, the citizens of Oro Valley. please vote for me in the upcoming election.